I believe a cabal of secret societies has controlled the world for 200 plus years, and we get to be alive at a time to see it fall. I believe in the power of one person working as a team with other Christian patriots can have massive impact in reversing this ungodly culture. I believe that we have an omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent God that has put his hand on this moment in time to deny the timeline of the enemy and is about to heal our land. This is Rick, your host, and I believe that God has called me to empower Christian patriots with truth. Join us now for the Blessed to Teach show, and let's see what God is doing today.
Elitist media deceives, but Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and access on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS, we're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission to counter deception. Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.
Welcome, it's Rick B2T. We're going to be empowering Christian patriots with truth the next hour, and also in the following hour on the Word and Worship show as well, which is on the Rumble channel and Faith and Freedom TV channel. Remember, exclusive contents there with my interviews with Larry Ballard on, I can't remember this. The title was about, we've done the new financial systems, we've done the 9/11, we've done the New Kings protest, all that stuff. All those exclusives are only on Faith and Freedom TV. That's Faith with the N, as in Nancy, Freedom .tv. All right, we're going to talk about Zohran's prophetic sign. The supposed New York mayor, it's going to win there. That's a Muslim and an extremist and a communist. It's like, wow, okay. And we're going to talk about Eric Trump's slam on Hillary. That's an awesome, fun thing to look at. We're going to have Word and Worship and talk about prophecies about Egypt and the fall of Egypt, and how the prophetic words prove the reliability of the Bible. That's what we'll do in the second hour. But let's dig in to some breaking news now. Obviously, we're in the 22nd day of the government shutdown, which has become now the second longest in history. And I believe this is an optics play and some big things happening behind the scenes. Joe M., from one of the anons that we've did some of the most beautiful videos on the Q movement has his take on it. I'll show you that in a second. But this is interesting. This whole we thought a lot of people thought the Democrats would come and open up the government, if you will, by giving those extra votes, but they're told no now. So could this be the White Hats controlling it to make sure we get to 61 days where the rifts can be permanent? Or what's going on behind the scenes? And I really believe there's some bigger things going behind the scenes, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And here's Eric Trump. This is funny. So we see that the White House and the left just went crazy over this photo of the back of the White House, being broken down here. As they're going to basically build a huge ballroom here, right, with a new wall, and people are freaking out, and including Hillary Clinton, So Hillary Clinton posts this. She goes, "It's not his house. It's your house. And he's destroying it." And so this is just the craziness that people go. So White House begins demolishing East Wing facade to build Trump's ballroom. The president has claimed construction of the $250 million ballroom wouldn't interfere with the existing White House structure. And but now they're saying, he's destroyed it. He's destroyed it. So this is just the chatter. Just shows you the craziness that we're living under right now. So what does Eric Trump say back to that? He goes, "The ballroom will be spectacular, unlike your work in Haiti." So that's just kind of cool how we see the Trumps pointing toward Haiti back, because we know that massive disaster happened there, and all these people give money to the Clinton Foundation, and less than 2% of it went to Haiti, right? And then we see all kinds of child trafficking going on there. The weird thing about a Clinton Foundation related person actually trying to bring children into the United States. So there's big things coming out about the whole Haiti deal as we get revelation after revelation after revelation. It is going to be a spectacular couple of years, guys, as we turn justice into, especially the military tribunals, I believe, are coming. We'll be talking about that a little bit. Here's Joe M. and his take on some of this. "You're told demolishing the East Wing is about building a new ballroom. What if I told you it was about demolishing underground tunnels?" So could all that construction noise and all that stuff be an excuse to destroy underground tunnels? I don't know. Sounds far-fetched to me there. I know there are underground tunnels. We reported on them with Gene Decode in detail. But it seems like they would have gotten rid of those by now in his first term. But I don't know. "You're told the shutdown is due to inability for Democrats and Republicans to reach an agreement. What if I told you it was about recess appointments for Trump's judges who will be overseeing the legal takedown of the cabal? Much is happening." And so that's another one I just question. I mean, I love the Anon's theories and thinking, but again, I think it's going to be military tribunals, not these appointments for judges, right? So we'll see how all this happens. I think there is going to be civil, and we're going to have to replace a lot of these judges that don't believe in the Constitution over time. But does the Trump judges? So this would be real interesting to research, is dig into that. But again, I just thought it was interesting to show you what Joe's take on this is. Joe M. He did some beautiful videos, as you know, through the years on the whole movement and what's going on there. Here's another. This is the Patriot. Joe, I think, is the one who actually posted this originally, but this is LASQ posted it now. It says, "Car crashes into the White House at 10:37 p.m. last night." So you can see this car crashes into where the Secret Service garage is. And so people will look at the actual Q drop 10:37, right? Now it's interesting, if that's 10:37 at night, a lot of people would add 12 to that and be looking at 22:37. So you can actually look at a couple posts based on timestamps. So they're looking at 10:37 this time. And what's interesting is that it talks about 10:37 talks about booms en route. And that by itself, you're going, okay. But what makes it more intriguing is that there was a 5-year delta, 7-year delta, I think a 5-year delta here on 10. Here it is, 10/21/2020. You can see here, right? As well as was reposted on 10/22, right? So that, and then it also says booms en route tomorrow. This is not a drill Q. So because there's two things there, that does say, hey, are there big booms coming tomorrow? That's kind of what some of the Anons are pointing to as well there. So quite intriguing. Hey guys, this is the last chance to get your 3-day pass to Healing for the Ages. Dr. Artis, Dr. Group, Dr. Ely, Dr. Schmidt, they've all been on the show multiple times. Guys, there is a VIP. I'm going to be there live with my brother Rob with an Exodus booth. So come and see me if you end up coming to this. There's a few seats available still. It's on nearly sold out, but still a few seats available if you want to come live. But what I'm encouraging most of you to do, because I'm sure most of you can't get to Dallas tomorrow for a 3-day conference, but you can hopefully block out your calendar, and even if you miss a bunch of it, you'll have all the recordings. And this is a 3-day full conference, 12 hours a day type thing. They have a huge, what do you call it, a premiere of a documentary that's going to be playing Thursday night. You have access to all of that by going to registration at healingfortheages.com. You get 30% off on the VIP package if you want, using the B2T code. So use the B2T code for that. Also, Rumble, guys, this is kind of interesting. They're just doing a great job. I'll be talking a little bit more about making sure you download that app, make sure you have Premiere. They're part of the reason I'm still alive and being able to do this for a living, because if it wasn't for Rumble, I wouldn't be able to do it. Hey, tomorrow night we have Brian Ferry coming on of Optio Blockchain. Again, this is the guy when it comes into the Babylonian crash of the financial system and how we're going to have crypto replace a lot of that. This is one of the most brilliant minds on that. Then you got Sherry Tenpenny, one of the most brilliant minds fighting the medical cartel. And then you obviously have Donna Clement and her husband are going to be talking about their story and the whole prophetic area of this spiritual battle. And then SG Anon, one of the most biggest red pill anons out there, all coming on the next couple of weeks. So don't miss the Monday and Thursday shows when we bring on guests. That will be pretty awesome. I just didn't see if Kirk Elliott was going to be able to make it. Good. I think Kirk Elliott's going to be able to come on for a little bit as well. So this is another interesting thing. This is the Time cover, right? It says the meaning of Zohran Madani, and somebody took that and AI'd it and put this on it with a bloody head of the Statue of Liberty, blood on his hands. It says "Death to America" instead. And this is what Amanda basically said. This cover is prophetic, right? And she's just talking about him being on the cover in general. I don't think she's talking about the one she posted here, which was the AI version of it, the Death to America version of the Time magazine, right? It says, this cover is prophetic. This is a 9/11 warning. Rosh Hashanah 2026 begins on 9/11. Within the first year, if this man clinches mayor, the Statue of Liberty all represents Nimrod's wife, Seminar's queen of Babylon. So she's pointing to Revelation 18:2. And he cried mighty with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. So Amanda Grace is really pushing that this is a significant downward turn in what's happening to some of these Democratic cities and what's happening to New York. I look at this like this, guys. You have the selection machines and the voter rolls that are completely corrupted in New York as well as California, and that has allowed them to put in the entire cabal leadership they want, top to bottom. And they've sold out these Democratic cities, and there's no way for this whole movement of the MAGA movement to come back into it because of that. So that's why we have to go to one-day voting, paper ballots, etc., and get rid of the machines. And once we get rid of the selection machines, we might be able to revive all this, right? And why in the heck are we talking about Susan Collins potentially being beaten by a Democrat versus replacing Susan Collins, the rhino, right? But that's where we are in this country, of a bunch of establishment Republicans that hate this country, establishments on all sides of this. So this is a sad time for this country to see this type of things happen. This is a warning sign, I believe, to show that, hey, what's happened to Europe is going to happen to us. And if we start losing control of the election infrastructure and start bringing in all kinds of people that hate our country, what's happening in Europe is going to happen, right? So this is the time for us to fight all this, and we can do that with our prayers and authority in Christ, as well as you get involved. Got to have more people that are running against the Susan Collins and against the Zohrans. And it's wild that we're voting for Cuomo, who basically killed hundreds and maybe thousands in the nursing homes, right? That's the guy we want to win. It is when you look at the enemy of my the friend of, I mean, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? That's kind of where we are. The enemy of Zohran is Cuomo. So he has to become our friend, if you will. But again, it doesn't look very likely that anybody is going to vote him out. And especially with the selection machines in the polls, looks like that's going to be an extremely interesting time frame. Trying to see some of these comments here. My ability to post them up here on the screen is still broken as I was trying to get YouTube to work. So we'll work through that this weekend. But it says, judgment is coming to New York, Dillard says. Yes. Dai Fleming saying, also consider that he was brought back to faith by the head of the faith office, which is set in the White House. First POTUS to do so over 20 years. Okay, she's talking about something earlier there. How many innocent babies have been shed in the New York and Planned Parenthood and the UN? Yeah, no question about it. That is some Dillard's talking about some of that. What is the longest sheep herd said when it talked about the longest? That's one thing. That's a good question you guys had there. Let's go see. I'm sure this talks about the longest shutdown. Senate Democrats have dragged to 22 days. Is no end in sight. Going to shut down like it's 1995. So it looks like it was in 1995. See how long that actually went down. See if it's going to tell us. It looks like it's not going to tell us what the longest one was, but it looks like it was in 1995. It became the second longest U.S. history, surpassing the 1995 lapse in federal funding that was dragged into day 22 with no end in sight. So it doesn't say how long that 1995, let me know in the chat as you look that up. Do a quick grok on it is what I tell people to do. So look at this. This is exciting. So this is the Gateway Pundit is proud to join outlets like the Real America Voice, Turning Point USA Frontlines, the Post Millennial, Timecast, Lindell TV, Human Events, the National Pulse, Red State, and the Washington Reporter as some of the new outlets that are being represented in the Pentagon. So we've been hearing about this for quite a while, but today, finally you see Sam Parnell talk about today, the Department of War is announcing the next generation of the Pentagon Press Corps. We are excited to announce over 60 journalists representing a broad spectrum of new media outlets and independent journalists have signed the Pentagon's media access policy and will be joining the new Pentagon Press Corps. 26 journalists across 18 outlets were among the former Pentagon Press Corps who chose to sign the DOW media access policy. So all these big media companies wouldn't sign this media access policy. New media outlets and independent journalists have created the formula to circumvent the lies of the mainstream media and get real news directly to the American people. Their reach and impact collectively are far more effective and balanced than the self-righteous media who chose to self-deport from the Pentagon. Is that not right? Americans have largely abandoned digesting their news through the lens of activists who masquerade as journalists in the mainstream media. We look forward to beginning a fresh relationship with members of the new Pentagon Press Corps. So, again, this is a very controversial thing, but what we're doing is getting new media into the governmental areas that just had complete control, lockstep control of the mainstream media, right? So this is beautiful. Notice that Fox News wasn't mentioned on there, so I'm not even sure if Fox News even signed it. But to get the Rhino media out of there, as well as the leftist Mockingbird media, is a real big step. And so we're excited to see some of these things actually occurring. It's very beautiful. Here's Secretary Besant basically said that, hey, we're going to put massive sanctions on Russia now. Now that Russia is basically saying, I don't like the Trump plan. I'm going to try to take over all of Ukraine. And I'm not sure what happened but what happened to Putin at this point, and whether this is an optics play. But this clearly is saying that this to Trump, right? Giving the hand to Trump. You do that, you're going to get punished, and the punishment is going to be heavy sanctions that are going to be announced later tonight or tomorrow, is what Scott said. So that will be really interesting. And there's also different ways that people are trying to attack California, and one is this. This is 250,000 Californians have signed a petition for mandatory voter ID in just 2 weeks. More signed each day. We need 1 million signatures for California voter ID. This will mean doom for the election cheating Californians. So this is interesting. They have this voteridinitiative.com. You'll see everything I give you, you will have in the morning on show notes if you sign up for show notes. So make sure you go to blessed2teach.com. That's blessed with the and I'm gonna have to fix my lower third there that's not rotating. But you can see right down, blessed with the number 2 teach.com, and you can get the show notes and you will get the links plus a summary of the show as well. Last night I did not get my show notes out as I was in the emergency room with my mother-in-law. Good news is she's okay. She fell and has bruised ribs. We were just making sure that she was in such pain that we didn't know if she had any internal problems. So she's good, but I was up really late last night and was not able to get the show notes out last night. But I'll get them out tonight for sure. So make sure you're signed up for those and get. But it's voteridinitiative.com is where you can, if you're a Californian, can go sign that to get to the 1 million signatures to get voter ID on the ballot, which would be an interesting thing and beautiful, wouldn't it be? Hoping that happens. Madami defends meeting radical imam by wrongly claiming it wasn't a big deal when prior mayors did so. So basically, hey, I can meet with these crazy imams, but other people have as well. So that'll be a real interesting time. So trying to see who that was on the. Oh, that's Gus walking around. He's involved in some type of a children thing. It looks like. I'm not sure what that is, but those of you backstage, you can see Gus walking around with his camera on. But that's Madami, Ma'am Danny is meeting with these radical imams that one was involved in linked to one of the World Trade Center's early bombings. So Trump's H-1B application fee is forcing visa abusers to hire Americans. So how can you complain about this? But this was an amazing thing. I know Steve Bannon was on this, basically saying that people like Elon Musk wanted H-1B visas to just be plentiful and easy for tech companies, and Bannon was fighting him on that. And so Trump kind of came to, instead of just cutting it and saying, hey, you can't hire them, saying that you can hire them, but you're going to pay the U.S. $100,000 for every one of them. So 2 of the largest alleged H-1B visa mills, Cognizant and Tata Consultancy Services. And this is what I did for a living before I started this, right? In fact, I was doing this at night while I was working for IBM. Before that, I was working at Accenture, big consultant, and I was always competing with Cognizant and Tata, who were based in India, and they would bring over H-1B visas and have 6 guys sleeping in a hotel room and charging like half the price that I could bill for my American-based workforce, right? And so this is a huge problem, and this is to me an awesome thing that's happening. And so what you have is Cognizant and Tata Consultancy. They appear to be backing away from their practice of employing unusually high numbers of foreign workers after President Trump imposed a $100,000 fee on new visa applications. So they would just bring them in like mad, like it was a factory of low-cost labor, technical labor. And brought the price down of what you would pay for a programmer, for instance, to nothing. So this is a huge improvement. And so what's happening? Well, they're starting to have to hire Americans. That's exactly what Trump wants, right? President Trump, Cognizant, Tata Consulting Services, foreign workers and American workers. The shift in hiring practice comes after President Trump issued this executive order in September on H-1B, We have significantly localized our workforce in the U.S. We believe our business model will be able to adapt quickly to changes in immigration policy, says Sandeep Kunamal out of Tata's Chief Human Resources. So that the change in hiring behavior by Cognizant and Tata suggests that Trump's administration's H-1B application fee is having the desired effect. This is this is 101 common sense business stuff he's bringing to America. It's just beautiful. You got to love this. Pushing companies in the U.S. away from being over-reliant on foreign labor and towards hiring Americans. I can tell you how happy I would be about this if I was still a partner at Accenture, trying to help companies implement large systems and using a U.S. workforce, right? When I was competing against, again, 6 guys in a room. And so that is, I think, and it's gonna cause a little bit more spending for the prices will rise back up for getting good, solid programmers in, but it'll create jobs, right? So that is exactly the effect that Trump is going for here. Here's Soros. Soros Fund looking to invest in widely ridiculed left-wing propaganda outlet Media's Touch. What's new, right? What's news about these guys? In fact, most of it's not their money. As we found out, they were using USAID's money and all kinds of cabal-oriented slush funds that actually end up being mostly our own tax dollars funding the enemies within. That's an infuriating part of what's been going on. Says George Soros may have stepped down from his Open Society Foundation in 2023 and handed over control to his son, but the hedge fund Soros Management Fund has remained politically active too. Well, nobody in chats helped me out with the longest shutdown. So I'm going to show you how I do this real quick. I just love Grok for general stuff. You got to be careful because it's woke when garbage in, garbage out. But you can ask it factual questions like, what was the longest shutdown of the government in U.S. history, right? And I had a couple of misspellings, but my little program helps me get that fixed. And I hit enter, and boom, we'll find out in usually 5 or 6 seconds. It was December. This is saying the longest government shutdown in history was in 35 days in 2018. That's interesting. December 22nd to January 25th. So we're 22 days versus 35. I don't know why that was talking about 1995. That was pretty weird. The shutdown affected about 800,000 federal workers who were either furloughed or worked without pay and disrupted numerous government services. A deal was reached to reopen the government within the requested wall funding. So I think everybody got paid, and they didn't fire really anybody long term. They were just furloughed, right? So you basically got a vacation. And I think a lot of those people still worked as they weren't being paid, like for the FAA, et cetera. But anyway, that kind of answers a little bit of that question that was being asked. So let me continue here on the Soros thing. Since Soros stepped down from the OSF, SMF has scooped up an equity stake in Vice Media Group and became the largest shareholder in Odyssey, which made headlines due to Biden's FCC fast-tracking of the purchase ahead of the 2024 election. While George was still part of the OSF, his SMF purchased an undisclosed stake in Crooked Media, which publishes Pod Safe America, one of the most popular left-wing podcasts, and deal of theirs to purchase 18 Hispanic radio stations in 2022 also made headlines, as is included in the conservative radio Mumbai station. So this is part of the whole Mockingbird media apparatus, all these NGOs. We still have Soros doing his fighting back, trying to fight this new media that's coming into the Pentagon that we talked about. New media that you're listening to right now, by the way. Thank you so much. Be a digital soldier. Help us with thumbs up, shares, and also subscriptions. And that's the only way we're going to be able to survive and get this truth out to people, right? Let's look here. Nolte, from no kings to yes. It says a yes Nazi. Democrats stand by Graham Planter. So this is, to me, this is so sad that, again, it's like I guess the enemy of our enemy is our friend. So Susan Collins, a complete rhino, is running against a extreme Democrat that has a supposedly a tattoo. You'll see it right here. That is a Nazi symbol, right? So there that is right there, and that is the skull and bones thing here. That's called the Totenkopf, and it was used by Hitler's SS. So that is that's the kind of people that are coming into the government now. This is why we have to get involved at the local level, and we have to get more MAGA people involved, because the extremists are taking over and making Susan Collins and and Cuomo look good, right? That's scary. That's scary when we're thinking they're not the extremists. He said, oh, this is my Totenkopf, the former acquaintance told Jewish Insider recently, speaking on the condition of anonymity to address the sensitive issue. He said it was a cutesy, in a cutesy little way. Listen, I'm not sitting here on some high horse condemning a 20-year-old drunk Marine for doing something stupid. There are all kinds of shameful things in my past, okay? None involve Nazi afflictions, but still, who isn't at the mercy of poor judgment at the age? My issue, and there are two, are this. So basically, he's saying that he was a drunk Marine when he did that. But that's what's happening here, guys. And again, but if you look at his policies, he's a radical Democrat, potentially being able to knock off a Republican out of the Senate. So we need that seat in the Senate. But again, she on controversial issues, she votes with the Democrats half the time. It's really sad, right? Here's KJP doing a book tour, but it's landing with a thud. So does that surprise anybody? But these guys get these puppets of the deep state get book deals all the time, and this is they get wealthy off these book deals even when they fail. So that's the sad part. So she's doing pretty bad on this, and she's basically defending. She's going all over and getting hit by Jesse Waters and so many others, and continuing to defend Biden. Oh, she had no idea that he was in decline at all, right? It's like even Stephen Colbert is even pushing back on this. Let's listen to the second part of this.
We saw someone shock us and worry us, and nothing could assuage that worry. So I don't think it was necessarily a betrayal of Joe Biden, as other people saying, we don't think we were shown the Joe Biden that you saw.
I saw every day a really ugly assault on someone who had 50+ years of experience and who, again, objectively had done a good job as president of the United States. And it was heartbreaking to see that type of behavior.
I think all of that, everything you're saying, I cannot fault the factual basis of what you're saying or your feelings about it. Yeah. But what happened was the debate performance. Everything is downstream of that.
And no one is saying that the debate performance wasn't shocking, wasn't a disappointment. No one is saying that.
Disappointment is such a light term.
I use your words.
It was harrowing.
I use your words.
Okay, look.
See how this, see, it's like crazy. These late night show hosts, they try to push back a tiny bit so softly, and they're just exposing themselves, right? But just to see her continue to defend Joe is crazy.
Listen, we're never going to agree on this.
We're not.
Other than the fact that I'm glad that you came here tonight and
I
telling me to wrap over there. Would you like to say one more thing before we go?
So they're actually arguing with her a little bit. Isn't that interesting? And this is a lie. Everyone saw the truth for 4 years. Here she is again. So over and over again, continue to defend that that this didn't happen, right? So here's Tim Miller. Biden talked way less to the press than Donald Trump does. And she says, that's not true. It's like, what? Can you lie any more than that, right? You weren't paying attention to what we were doing at the White House. The president spoke to the American people a couple times a week. Trump speaks every single day. And he didn't speak a couple times a week. He went months of sometimes. Oh, I see Kirk has joined us. I want to move to some economic updates because it's kind of wild what's going on with the silver shortage of physical silver, and also the up and down movement of that. And we'll figure out what's going on there, and more importantly, what's going on with the overall economy. So we'll bring Kirk Elliott on. Kirk, how are you doing? We still have you on mute on the Zoom.
How about now?
Now we got you.
Yeah. I mean, it is beyond busy. Literally the busiest I've ever seen. Busiest week, 2 weeks ever in almost 30 years. I mean, it's out of control.
I know you couldn't make it last week because everybody was buying physical silver, right?
I know. You asked me if I could come on, and it's like, Rick, could we just pause? Because I can't even find time to breathe. And it's still like that, but I couldn't go 2 weeks without being on Blessed to Teach. Are you correct?
Right, thank you so much.
Oh yeah. So literally, London ran out of silver, right? Which we've talked about this in the past, how this was about to happen, right? So their free float silver has been depleted. And this was a problem because you've got all these futures contracts that now, when these short positions, remember, we've talked about some of these big banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, HSBC, that have short positions. Well, how do you unwind to short positions? You have to buy a physical silver. Oop, London doesn't have any. It's like, this is a problem. So if you can't fulfill the flip side of the short positions, which means these banks that have short positions have been manipulating the market for decades, trying to drive the price lower. If the price goes up, they lose money hand over fist.
Yeah.
Right. So here's where they bit themselves in the butt. like they really, because they've got these shorts. London ran out. So now what is London going to do? London has to tell the world, it's like, wait, we need inventory to fulfill these short contracts that these big banks have, right? Because there's no silver, because they've oversold it. The amount of paper contracts to physical silver is like over 300 to 1. It's like, well, there's just not much there. Right. So what did they start doing? They started raising the price, the spot price. So over the futures contract price. So now this is in the world, I'm going to get technical for just a second, but I'll dumb it down. So usually a futures price is more expensive than the current price because people think the price is going to go up in the future. Right. There's cost of storage. There's cost of financing. And so that's why futures prices are always higher. Not right now. The spot price, the current price, London jacked up to $1.50, $2, $2.50, almost $3 over the futures price. Why? Because they had to entice the world that owns silver, like China, like India, like COMEX, to send it to London so they could fulfill their contracts. So it was instant arbitrage, meaning you could buy silver in China, sell it in London, make $3 an ounce, like that. If you're dealing with tens of millions of ounces, that's not chump change, right?
Yeah.
But yet they didn't really do it. It's like, what in the world? What gives? So it tells me that China, India, they're not in it to make a profit.
Right.
They want to destroy the West. They want to destroy the Western, basically financial system, which is London. London is the financial capital of the world. Right. London is the precious metal storage capital of the world. Literally all roads lead to London. If they're gone, which if they default on all these contracts, could put them out of business. If they raise the prices to get inventory in, they could go bankrupt. It's like, oh my word, China and India, they're playing a really smart game here, right? So what did this now do? The banks who finance these settlements, right? They have to provide capital for these settlement periods, which is sometimes 72 hours to fund these short positions. They're not willing to do it for cheap, right? So 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, the lease rate for silver, which is basically their financing rate, was 10%. That means for all of these refineries, dealers networks, basically anybody who's storing silver to sell, it would cost them 10% a year. So if silver is $52, it would cost them $5.20 a year to store that, right? So, but then Thursday, it went up to 27%. By Friday, it was 100% lease rate. 100%.
Wow.
It cost $52.
Have you seen that in your whole career? Anything
nobody's ever seen it. Not just in my career. It's never happened before.
Right.
Right. So 100% lease rate. So if silver is $52. dollars That's $52 a year in financing. Divide that by 365 days in a year. It was costing firms, refineries, dealers, 15 cents a day per ounce to store their silver.
Wow.
Now let's just use my company as an example. Let's just say we do 500,000. I mean, I'm just making up numbers for the sake of illustration. Let's say we do 500,000 ounces a day that we're buying from the depository, so we can sell to all of you and everybody else. Well, at 500,000, the depository where we're buying it from has to have that in inventory.
Right.
But they're not just dealing on it per day. They probably have 3 or 4 days of inventory. So, or else we'd go somewhere else. It's like we'd find another one that's going to actually comply, deliver to you all quicker, because we don't want to have negative comments, right? So they probably have, let's just call it 3 days of inventory. At 500,000 ounces a day times 15 cents an ounce, it's costing them $75,000 a day to store metals just to fulfill our business.
Times 3 days.
Now they've got 3 days, $225,000 a day, right? Just this is going to put companies out of business. Now, we are just one company of hundreds that work with the depository. I was just talking about us. And the depository is just one of dozens of depositories that work with the refinery.
Right.
So what are these places doing? They're taking their inventories flat. They're getting rid of any inventory that they have. They don't want to have any carrying costs because it's going to put them out of business.
Right.
So now there is no metals to send to London.
Right.
The free float is gone. And these manufacturers, these refineries, they're only manufacturing on demand. They're not actually just manufacturing to keep in storage so people like us can buy it. They're going flat because this shocked the world. So why did the lease rates go to 100 in the first place? Because the banks didn't view London as being viable. Like if you all were going to go get a home mortgage and your credit score stunk, let's say your FICO score is just terrible, right? You're going to have a higher interest rate than your neighbor who might have a good credit score, right? So higher rates of financing equate to more risk that the bank is taking on. Obviously, the rates going to 100% a year meant they don't think London's going to survive this thing, right? Or else they would have never done that. But why do they think they're not going to survive? You look at the amount of shorts that these banks have, 770 million ounces are in short position right now, with silver hitting all-time highs. Somebody's going out of business. Somebody's going bankrupt.
Right.
When the amount of metals being mined in a whole year, the amount of silver being mined in a whole year globally is 500 million ounces. It's like, wow, they got more in short than there actually is being mined in a year. So now, add to that all the uncertainty around Trump. What's Trump going to do with China? Is he going to add silver as a strategic metal on the Section 232 and slap 100% tariff on it? Nobody knows. The banks didn't know. Obviously, if they did know, then the lease rates wouldn't be so high.
Right.
So still, that ruling hasn't come out yet. So we've still got this topsy-turvy world, and it's very, very much in turbulence. And so to me, I look at that, the lack of supply, the low inventory, all this turbulence. Prices are going to continue to go up and go up a lot. Well, why did they come down the last 2 days in a row? Because they came down a chunk, both gold and silver. There was no news story. There was no spark. There was no catalyst to actually explain why the metals would come down. I mean, there was like literally nothing. It was like Deadsville on news pertaining to gold and silver. So to me, that's just some big entity, unknown, we don't know who, that's locking in profits. I mean, somebody that big, it's probably got to be a big, huge bank. Let's just say for sake of illustration, it was Bank of America. I don't know, right? I'm just guessing because nobody knows. Somebody is probably locking in profits because their stock portfolio stunk. They have a quarterly shareholder meeting coming in. They want to lock in profits, and silver's gone up 19% in the last 2 weeks. It's up over 87% year to date. Gold's up over 60% year to date. All right, let's sell something that has a high profit to offset the things that we have losses in. I mean, that's the only thing that would make sense to me. I'm sure in time it will come out what's happened over the last 2 days. But when fundamentally nothing has changed, use it as a buying opportunity to allocate more at a discount. Really, today, I had so many clients just wiring funds out of the blue without even telling me and said, Kirk, we got to get in. Look, at silver came down 7% in the last 2 days. We want to buy in on the discount because we know it's going up. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. Right? Don't let this 2-day pullback change your mind that silver is actually going through the ceiling, because it is. But human nature is human nature. I had to talk to so many people today. It's like, they said, why is silver going down, and how low is it going to go? And did I make a mistake? It's like, what? You're literally up 140%.
Yeah, right.
over the last 2 years. And you're concerned about one day over 3 years? Don't be. But that's human nature, right? It's in our nature to start to think like that. And I want to encourage everybody, when the fundamentals of the markets haven't changed, when you have lack of supply, wars, rumors of wars, all this increasing demand, electronics demand going through the ceiling, use this as the buying opportunity of a lifetime. And what I think is the strongest bull market that this generation is going to see in our lifetime.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this at 18, some at 22, 26, and
yeah,
to vault up above 54 for a while. I think it was. It's 48 now. So you got basically a $6 discount right now.
You know, it's amazing. It's absolutely incredible.
Right. Yeah. So and to talk a little about how you help people figure out what to do based upon their specific situation, because that's what I love about your free consultation.
Yeah, I mean, you can't use a cookie cutter approach. Anybody that does, like, they'll sell packages, right? It's like, okay, you send in 10,000, you're going to get 8 of these things and 17 of these. And it's like, okay, what? Everybody's different, right? Everyone has different goals, different dreams, different close to retirement, not close to retirement. Do you want income? Do you want growth? What? I mean, literally, the only way that we can know all of those things is to talk to you. Right? Hear your dreams, hear your goals, hear your fears, so we can address them and actually put together a plan of action using precious metals as a hedge, as a strategic hedge against what you're afraid of, right? To actually grow and thrive and put a smile on your face. This is what's really exciting to me. I was talking to a client, and they've been a client for about 2.5 years. They were a large client. So back in the day, they put in like $9 million. I mean, that's a big client, right? And today it's worth like 22 million. It's like, and they called and I was telling them how much they had grown. And they said, Kirk, we feel guilty for having this much money. And can you help us set up a family foundation so we can start giving it away? Wow. It's like, wow. That's a generous heart. That's Malachi 3:10, right? That is, you give and you give with a grateful heart, and watch out, because the blessings of heaven will be unleashed on you so much you won't have room enough to contain it all. Look Amen. At that message of that heart. I think I have too much money and I want to start giving it away. Now, I can't help somebody set up a family foundation. I'm not a lawyer, but I loved the comment, right? It's an amazing thing where God is going to bless so much those with pure heart and pure motives, right? And we're starting to see the greed of this world come back and bite people, right? And it's like, this is a time where you let God lead. And so these are the kind of conversations we have with people every single day. We're praying with them. We want to hear your goals, and then we'll use gold and silver as a strategy to hedge yourself and protect you against some of these market corrections that we're seeing in other asset categories, and move forward with a smile on your face. We can do that with IRAs. We can do that with cash accounts, brokerage accounts. We can do that with even a current 401k that you might have, as long as you're 59 and a half or older. You know, people thought forever, it's like, oh, I can't do anything with my 401k. It's like, no, you can. If you're over 59 and a half, you can roll it to a traditional IRA, go into physical metals. And so there's a lot that can be done in people's portfolios. to protect and preserve and to grow and thrive in these markets moving forward, Rick.
Right. And then the exciting thing is that it sounds like pretty soon that commodities will be part of even your current 401k if you're not 59 and a half, right? That's coming.
It looks like it. I mean, that's the language pointed to in Trump's executive order, right, on August 7th. So take advantage of some of these moves, right? And before they take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. Thanks for talking about that. It's been up and down, talk about it crazy, but nothing like Bitcoin where it's like going to fall 50%, right? This is like a 7% drop, and yeah, good time to buy, but you don't have any risk of it going down to $10 or something like that, right? So,
yeah, for sure, absolutely.
All right, God bless you. Thank you so much for the update.
God bless. Hey, thanks a bunch. We'll talk soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Isn't that awesome? So I love to have Kirk on because he doesn't have back end commissions, which is important in a growing market like this. Like I say, you bought this at $15 an ounce, and now it's at $50. You don't want to be paying a commission on the back end. This is zero commission on the back end. There's dealers that do that. There's also dealers that say, hey, here's a rare coin, and they're making 50-60% profit. Versus a really upfront, hey, we're only going to charge 8% upfront, and there's nothing on the back end. So when you get to the 100, 200, or 60, 30, 60, 100-fold increase, you're not going to pay a 30, 60, 100-fold commission, right? So that's why I called Kirk at 720-605-3900. That's 605-3900. Sorry, 720-605-3900. That's the fastest way. Make sure you let them know that Rick B2T sent you. They'll prioritize you and get, again, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get a portfolio converted, right? So you can buy something pretty quickly, get it in the Texas vault if you have cash, but work with Kurt on all the strategies to make sure you aren't one day late when this really explodes. All right, let's continue with some more news. We're talking about Breitbart there, and the whole old press secretary. Here's Trump basically saying, quoting somebody from Russia: Treasury sanctions major Russia oil countries, calls on Moscow to immediately agree to ceasefire. So you can see Trump's putting pressure on Russia to do with the ceasefire and just draw the lines where kind of they are now with a few swaps, right? And his peace plan is being throttled by the Russian government now. He's putting pressure on them in multiple ways here. Here's Trump talking about Wall Street Journal. Story on USA approval of Ukraine being allowed to use long-range missiles deep into Russia is fake news. The U.S. has nothing to do with those missiles, wherever they may come from, or what Ukraine does with them. So basically what Trump's saying, I'll sell you missiles, but you're paying for them, Europe. And if you want to give them to Ukraine, that's your choice. And if Ukraine wants to use them to Russia, that's their choice. That has nothing to do with approval from the United States. He's making that very clear. And here's the good news on what these tariffs are doing. He proved everybody wrong. And here's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent talking about it. He goes, the budget deficit began to shrink dramatically beginning in the second quarter of this year when there was no overlap with the Biden administration. From April to September, the cumulative deficit totaled just $468 billion. This is the lowest reading since 2019 and is down nearly 40% from the comparable period last year when Biden was spending recklessly. Today, President Trump is putting the U.S. financial system on solid footing. Revenues are soaring, and government spending is under control. Democrats think they can undo the unimportant progress the president has made by shutting down the government, but they will not succeed. So that's interesting here. But again, what Larry Ballard's talking about is that gold is on the books right now at $42. And now as gold continues to increase, if we just revalue the gold to what it's really worth on the books, we could pay off most of this debt. And so there's some exciting tricks that I believe Bessent and Trump are going to do to bring us vault us into the new financial system and see the Babylonian system, the Fed go away. It's going to be an exciting time. Here's a Trump truth section again for all those people voting in New Jersey and Virginia for governor, attorney general. And for other positions, please remember this. A Republican vote means a drastic drop in energy prices and energy costs, a drop like you've never seen before. A Democrat vote means a doubling and even tripling of your energy bills and prices, traditionally the highest cost of any American citizen. So Trump really, really pushing things there. And he's also talking about, in addition to everything else, tariffs on other countries saved our cattle ranchers. So again, these simple tariffs that keep other countries from coming in here with massively reduced labor costs is going away. This is kind of shocking. This is Dinesh, and living off food stamps is a family tradition, is what she says. Let's listen.
So my sister made a video about how my whole entire family gets EBT. And everyone is calling us bums because we don't work and we live off the government. And we are proud of that. Growing up, this is what we were taught. We were taught to not have to work. We were taught to live off the government because it is there for us to use. And from what I could remember, it all started back with my grandparents. My grandparents used to get the paper, like the paper coupons to go and pay for, food and stuff like that.
It's just not shocking. Her attitude is she's proud of living on food stamps, proud of living off the government. This is Communist 101, guys. This is what they want to do. This is Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky, talking about getting people addicted and used to, and their God becomes the government, right?
And that's when I was like, this is free money. Like, what? So living off of EBT is literally a tradition in our family. Once my grandparents passed away, my mom started, applying, and she got approved for all 6 of us kids. And then, once my sister got older, she had her first child, she applied for food stamps, and she got, it was just like, a domino effect. One after another, we all got approved for EBT. And guess what? It's not going to stop there. Why? Because I have taught my children, and I'm going to be teaching my grandchildren, that they should do the same thing. They don't have to work. They could just have children, put themselves on EBT, get child support, all of that I do so I don't have to work, they could do it themselves too. So my sister...
So she's not only proud, she's going to teach her kids and her grandkids to continue to live off the government, right? This is the intergenerational dependency that FDR, LBJ, and the Democrats have created. So this is the poison, guys. We've got to get out of our system. People are happier when they're working and have value, they're adding value, versus being dependent on the government. Dependent on the government is the way to destroy America, and they're doing a good job. They're doing everything they can, aren't they? Here's Elon Musk saying, empathy for victims requires that repeat violent offenders be incarcerated. This guy says, keep in mind that insinuating a 3-strike rule would eliminate 50% of all crime. Think about that. Really think about that. We would more than half the crime if we stopped letting people out after their 3rd strike, right? Prior arrest of persons admitted to state prisons in 34 states. So percentage of persons admitted, right? And the whole point of this is that if we keep giving victims empathy and letting them out of prison, even though they're repeat violators, it creates massive chaos. Here's Peter McCullough talking more about the vaccines. He says this is breaking a 2.23 million person study. So that's a huge study. Just think about that, having not hundreds of thousands, but 2.23 million. Finds this pneumonia vaccine increases risk of pneumonia and death. So you go get a vaccine for pneumonia, and it increases it. Okay? The vaccines given to nearly every U.S. child and senior were linked to all these things. So there's a whole article here. But guys, this is coming out. The studies are starting to come out about what the vaccine industry really is. It's an industry to create sickness. It's an industry to create us weak, is what the whole thing is. Here is this Will Robert saying, well, here it is, conspiracy theory no more. Not only did Doge confirm it, the Congressional Budget Office has reconfirmed illegal aliens were issued Social Security numbers by the Biden-Harris terrorist administration. 270,000 in 2021, all the way up to 2 million over 2 million in 2024 on their way out the door, with a whopping 1.4 million illegals on Medicaid. You have been robbed, deceived, blackmailed, extorted. Showing illegal aliens coming in on trains. As we take our benefits away from veterans and have veterans living on the streets, we're putting illegals in hotels, giving them Medicaid, and giving them Social Security numbers. It's pretty crazy. This is sickening. It's a blurry video on the left, but you'll see this this repeat defender come up and just hit a white woman that is not even just walking down the street. This is what's happening. This is in Chicago. So you can see he's walking up to her and just takes a full blast swing. This is a man hitting a woman just walking down the street. It's like, this is just crazy. This is why Elon's saying, this is the city of Chicago finally released footage of the brutal, unprovoked attack of Kathleen Miles by subject William Livingston after we filed the FOIA request. And you can see him walking and doing that. It says, this thug is previously charged with assaulting 4 women in 2022, but he faced minimal consequences and was allowed back on the streets. This is what happens in Democrat crime-infested cities. And that's why Elon's saying judges and DAs who allow repeat violent offenders to devastate the lives of innocent people must be fired. And this is what they purposely did when George Soros funded all these DAs, funded all these judges, funded all these Secretary of States to get control of the election infrastructure. Woo! Hey, Dr. Artis was on the Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson show, and I think that's interesting. She's been calling out a lot of people in the faith movement. And I met her personally. She's got a great show. I like most of her stances. She's attacking Sean Foyt, which I thought was inappropriate, but she's done a good job outing other people. But he does a 11-minute and 41-second video here. You'll have in the show notes of just really nailing the whole nicotine story from beginning to end. That just is beautiful. I'm just going to play a quick part of it here.
He is no psychopath.
Mark.
Did you know that the 3rd highest containing nicotine vegetable on earth is tomatoes? Every red tomato that you've ever eaten has nicotine in it.
Wow.
Did you know that green tomatoes have 10 times the amount of nicotine as red tomatoes?
Mm.
Did you know that bell peppers, cauliflower, celery, zucchini, all nightshade vegetables have tons of nicotine? In fact, that whole group of foods, nightshade vegetables, has the 2nd highest amount of nicotine, only second to tobacco.
Yeah, so guys, you can see tobacco, eggplants, tomatoes. It's a nutrient. We've been lied to about nicotine from the beginning. It's the chemicals. There's all those chemicals that they put in the tobacco, in the paper, around is what makes it addicting. And now they put all those addictive chemicals into our food. Many of those addictive chemicals into our food. So processed food is dangerous stuff, guys. Basically, people say if it has a label on it, it's probably not very good for you, right? If you go to the produce section, you have a better chance, right? But if you go anything that has a label on it, if you have to read the label, you're already in the wrong place. Pretty sad what they've done with our food. Amazon plans to replace 600,000 human workers with robots. This is another thing that's going to be coming down, where the large companies are going to replace everybody with robots. So that's going to be a real interesting thing. Hey guys, we're going to move over to praise and worship now. I'll be teaching on in between beautiful music. Right, it's kind of one of my favorite things to do, besides praise and prayer with you guys. But on Wednesdays and Sundays, we do this. And so I'll be on day 5 of a series on the confirmation of Scripture through prophecies of ancient nations. So we've gone over Edom, and we've gone over Tyre, and we're going to be going over now the humiliation of Egypt is what we're going to be going over. We'll examine Egypt's predicted decline, emphasizing the prophetic specificity specificity. We will cover this in 3 parts: the prophecy of internal strife, prophecy of loss of power, and insight and application to us. Right? So that's what we're going to be digging into, these specific prophecies that came true in the Bible. There's tons of them. We went over a whole list of them, the messianic prophecies. Then we went over a whole 7-day series on the prophecies of Israel. Now we're going to these different nations and prophecies. It's an amazing study. So we're going to be doing that because of music licensing have to be on the other channel. Again, that's going to be on Faith and Freedom TV, Faith with the N, Freedom TV, and or go to the Word and Worship channel right here on Rumble. That's where we're going to be. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. Praise and Prayer Worship channel. I think you will enjoy that. Hey, one other thing I'm going to just try to do real quick, see if this is possible to do, because I was supposed to do this beforehand on the deal. Let's see if I can get this fixed. This is something that I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix this quickly. It would be here on the overlay. And this allows me to show you a QR code. There it is. The QR code came up there. And so that's what I wanted to show you guys. Let me remove that test banner and get to this actual one. I was talking about this a little bit earlier, but let me see if we can get this to come up again one more time. There it is. There it is. All right. And the reason I wanted to just talk about this, guys, is because this is the Rumble's helped me so much to survive, right? You probably notice Rumble is growing fast and it's not slowing down. But they're building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first, like myself and others that you watch, and actually protects free speech. And now there's Rumble Premium, an easy way to upgrade your experience with Premium and get ad-free viewing across the platform. No pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content you came for. Plus, Premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scenes drops, and more from your favorite creators. So we are doing some Rumble exclusives for only those people that have Premium. Right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription. Just go to rumble.com/premium or use that QR code right there. Again, that's rumble.com/premium or use the QR code and use the promo code STUDIO. So use STUDIO at checkout. That's rumble.com/premium and promo code STUDIO. No ads, more freedom, and content you can actually care about. That's the deal. All right, God bless you guys. With that, we are going to go to the other show. So Backstagers might unmuting and saying goodbye. We'll see you. Come over to the Word and Worship.
See
Okay?
you. Come over to their side.
All right.
Christian soldiers, we are in this together. We are blessed to teach. We are neighbors, we believe. We are blessed to be free, to love our God and country.
Elitist media deceives, but Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and access on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS, we're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission to counter deception. Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.